welcome to Good Game. I'm Bajo.
And I'm Hex.
Hex, I'm in the mood for something a bit dark this week.
Oh, I think I can help you out there, Bajo, because there's spooky streets and shady characters aplenty as you investigate your own death in Murdered Sole Suspect.
Go to arrest some freak? Find out you aren't as invincible as you thought.
Hex, I'm also in the mood for something light as we raise an empire in Tropico 5.
Well, it's kind of based in a dictatorship, so it's not all sunshine and lollipops.
Also a great name for my political party.
The end of the world as we know it is inevitable. And this is a good thing. Why? What is the world's most popular topic? Images of cats.
Plus, Goose raises a stein and toasts the tavern in a new postcard.
And it's been a while, but we tackled the inbox at the Ask Good Game desk. But first, can you name this game?
But now, here's news time with Goose.
Thanks, guys. EA studio Mythic Entertainment has recently been shut down. Founded in 1995, the studio made a name for itself with Dark Age of Camelot before being purchased by EA in 2006. Mythic was more recently known for its development of Warhammer Online, as well as the controversial Dungeon Keeper reboot on mobile devices. And in more studio news, Harmonix Music Systems, the creator of Dance Central, Guitar Hero, and Rock Band, has been hit with a number of staff layoffs. 37 full-time employees were let go as part of a company-wide restructure.
Goodbye, everybody. I've got to go.
According to the company, the layoffs will not affect production on the studio's current projects, Fantasia Music Evolved, and the crowd-funded reboot of Amplitude. Esports viewing is increasing rapidly, according to a new report by American research firm IHS Technology. 2.4 billion hours of esports video content were consumed in 2013, almost doubling 2012's usage. China, the USA, and South Korea are the largest consumers, with League of Legends, Dota 2, and StarCraft 2 being the most watched games. The firm expects continued expansion in the esports market, predicting a growth of 250% by 2018. And of course, the 2014 Electronic Entertainment Expo has kicked off in Los Angeles overnight. We'll be bringing you all the news and announcements from E3 next week, but for now, that's all the news for this week.
Thanks, Goose. For over a decade, the Tropico series has offered up quality city building with a totalitarian twist, letting you create your own sun-drenched dictatorships to run as you see fit. But does Tropico 5 rule with an iron fist, or will we need to call for a revolution?
Let's start with the basics for those who may be uninitiated in the ways of tropical despotism. While this may be a very accessible sim, they've certainly crammed a lot of detail into this.
Yeah, one of the first things I noticed is that every single citizen is an individual with their own name, age, family and political views, home, education, job, desires, you name it, the game tracks it.
And you can't just sit back and rake in the taxes either. You have to build up a fully functioning economy. You start with just the humble beginnings of farms and ranches, and then eventually developing the big earners like mining, manufacturing, and tourism industries.
I think it's clever how everything feeds into each other as well. So if you want to start distilling rum, you'll need some sugar fields first. And you can't forget a high school to educate your workers to run the machinery. Safety first, Bajo.
Yes, indeed. There's a healthy dose of politics to worry about as well.
Presidente, Tropicans await elections next year. They wish to show their everlasting love and respect for you.
People regularly demand elections, with multiple factions on your island that all need to be appeased in order to win.
If they aren't happy with your work, they'll vote you out and it's game over.
The unthinkable has happened, Presidente. We have lost the elections. A devilish combination of the global economy, the Illuminati, bad weather...
You can also take the total despot route if you prefer. And I did. Just initiate martial law.
I am so furious. I cannot believe what just happened.
Deny them any elections and build up an army to protect your regime from troublemakers. Your dear Supreme Ruler Bajo knows what's best for you all anyway, and if you disagree, I crush you.
I like to play the benevolent ruler and have an open, honest government. It's really satisfying knowing that I've won an election based purely on the love and respect of my fellow Tropicans.
The election results are in. Let me be the first to congratulate you, Presidente.
It can be so engrossing. There's all these different systems layered on top of each other that you just want to poke and prod and improve on.
Yeah, it's a total time sink, and all those political options give it just such personality. Well, that and the tongue-in-cheek humour and the Caribbean music.
I love the music so much. It makes me not take the game as seriously as I think I should be taking it. That's all the basics. Now for the new stuff. One of the major shake-ups is that you can now set up trade routes which open up a lot more freedom in how you run your economy. For every dock you build, you can assign a ship to either export your goods at above market prices or import them.
It means you can rely on a much more nuanced import-export economy, so you don't have to worry about everything collapsing once you've mined out all your resources. It's a great addition, but it does highlight one of Tropico's weaker elements: infographics. Where SimCity really nailed it was in all those beautiful graphs. Here, not so much.
I know, and it's such an important part of the game. There's only a few basic overlays, and most of the details are hidden away or just not there at all. So while you can set up everything to run off imported goods, there's nowhere to see how much you've stockpiled.
Yeah, it's so frustrating, isn't it? The first sign that you've run out of something is when you see a building is already run out. And it doesn't do much for your popularity when the uranium your nuclear power plant needs dries up and plunges your island into a blackout just before an election.
But now when things do get out of hand, there's an uprising or invasion, and troops and tanks actually fight it out in the streets. It's all out of your hands, and troops just duke it out automatically. So if you haven't built up a big enough defense force, then no strategy is going to save your dynasty. But it's nice to see that battle play out.
Yeah, speaking of which, you do actually have a family dynasty now.
Your family's rather rollicking love life has led to an unexpected pregnancy.
As you play through the campaign, you unlock extra family members who can designate to become the next Presidente. They can also be used as managers in buildings to give them some perks, or be sent off as envoys on various missions.
As my father used to say, ignorance is bliss.
This doesn't really add much, to be honest, but it's fun creating a little eccentric gang of tyrants.
The campaign has a pretty different structure now. There's a linear story to follow where you work your way through several eras, starting off in the colonial era and moving up through history into the modern day.
Yes, and each era brings with it new factions and drama to deal with, both domestic and abroad.
On my command, multiple nuclear devices are at this moment being deployed throughout the world.
As well as new technology and buildings to play with.
Missions generally have you trying to focus on one kind of goal. So you might have to try to funnel cash into your Swiss bank account, or build up your tourism industry, or a nuclear program. They're a fun challenge, and there's always a constant stream of mini objectives to work towards.
You also have 2 islands which you switch between as the story progresses. Each time you go back to an island, it keeps all of the buildings and changes you've made throughout the campaign. And I liked that because it gives a nice permanence to your emerging nation, and it's a nice little story to work through.
Another big addition comes in the form of multiplayer modes. You can now build up an island cooperatively with up to 3 others, or even take them on as some head-to-head dictating. You all start on the same island and can either share resources or declare war on each other. It's an interesting addition.
Yeah, but it does feel slightly strange too. City builders are typically quite a solitary experience, and there's a lot of sitting around just waiting for cash to roll in, so this multiplayer isn't exactly the most thrilling experience out there.
I know what you mean, but it's quite nice if you've got a few friends you like to play with. Another thing they've changed is the way mining works, so rather than having resource-rich patches of land, there are simply cliffs around the place with pre-made mine shafts. I'm not sure if I'm such a big fan of that though, because there are cliffs everywhere and they make a huge part of the map inaccessible, and it just starts to make things feel cramped after a while.
I didn't mind that so much, and the maps were at least a lot larger than they were in SimCity.
Yeah, that's true. What do you think overall, Hex?
Well, I happily lost many hours building up my little banana republic, so I'm giving this 8.
Yeah, I think they played it pretty safe with this one, but it's still one of the better city builders around, so I'm giving it 7.5.
Now, Bajo, it's been ages since we've tackled the Good Game inbox, so I think we should go answer a question.
Sounds good, Hex. Well, it's nice to be back at the Ask Good Game desk, Hex.
Yeah, it certainly is. And we'll kick things off with this letter we've got from VR Dude, who is from Perth, Western Australia. Hey guys, I was just wondering what your personal opinion of all the upcoming VR stuff is. I reckon it could be the future of gaming. It's like one step away from bringing my holodeck dreams to life. It's the future, people! Also, do you think Facebook buying Oculus was a good thing? Will they screw it up? Oh God, please don't let them screw it up! Thanks.
Virtual reality is definitely one of the most exciting technologies around. The ability to totally immerse yourself in a game and make you feel like you're there is a pretty powerful prospect.
Yeah, we both played around a little bit with the first generation of the Oculus Rift developer kit. It's really impressive and has huge amounts of potential, but there are definitely some hurdles that it needs to overcome still, I think.
Yes, absolutely. I'd heard all these stories of it making people sick and I thought they were just exaggerations, but then I tried it myself and wow, the nausea can hit you pretty quickly. I was legit ill for hours after playing.
Yeah. Are you actually going to vomit?
I think I'm okay.
It's definitely an intense experience, but the newer models with higher quality screens and better positional tracking apparently help reduce that a lot. So.
I guess it comes down to the games being designed for VR from the ground up. We've heard that Eve Valkyrie, for example, has spent a lot of time fine-tuning the way your virtual hands sit, the space inside the cockpit, and all sorts of seemingly minor things that can have a surprising impact on how comfortable it is to be in virtual reality.
Yeah, and I think that everyone's pretty quickly realised that having games where you're sitting down, like racing and flying games, helps the experience a lot. As soon as your virtual self starts running while your real self is sitting, it just, I don't know, it just messes with something between your brain and your stomach and it doesn't feel good.
It's a bit of a disconnect, isn't it? Oh, no. I had to shut my eyes. Personally, one of the things I'm most excited about is if maybe this could trigger a wave of virtual reality arcades, because I would just love to go there with a bunch of friends, put on some top-notch expensive VR gear and fight it out in virtual mechs or some kind of shooting game, because it's not really something I see myself playing a lot of at home, especially if it makes me ill.
Yeah, I mean, I'd really love something like a real-life laser tag arena, but with a kind of augmented virtual reality display that turned them into some sort of, you know, virtual arenas. That would be amazing.
That's basically a holodeck, isn't it?
Yeah. As for Facebook buying Oculus, well, I can certainly understand the skepticism, but overall, I don't know, I think it seems like a good thing to me. It certainly didn't come cheap, which means they're serious about using the tech and probably believe in its potential. And I'm actually quite excited about the applications of VR outside of gaming that we know that Facebook would probably be looking to explore.
Yeah, and at the very least, hopefully it means we'll get our hands on the first consumer version sooner rather than later. Also, it's good to see Sony jumping on board with their Morpheus headset, and hopefully we'll get a crack at that at E3 this year. And with more and more rival headsets emerging, it certainly looks like VR is going to be more than just some passing fad.
Yeah, well, we'll just have to see, I guess. But now let's move on to You Review. So this is a segment where we like to see what you thought of the games that we've reviewed.
Yes, and this week we thought we'd have a look at Wolfenstein: The New Order.
Welcome to the war.
Seems like most of you were impressed with it, like the Frog here, who said, "Never would I have expected character development of BJ or the people around him in a reboot of an old-school FPS. I haven't felt this type of attachment to characters since Mass Effect 2. The old-school one-man army is great with the different ranges of gun attachments. Loving this game. 9 out of 10.
Big Sook here lives up to the name, saying, I bought this hoping for some nostalgia. It's great graphically, but a bit too full-on for me. I feel traumatized every time I play, which makes me not want to play at all.
Thought I'd seen it all, but I'd never seen true cruelty until now.
7.5.
Well, I guess ultra-violent Nazi killing isn't for everyone, Bajo. Likewise, Walter White seemed completely unimpressed, writing just, meh, 3 stars.
Sorry, pal. Don't mean to.
Clearly a hard man to impress. If you would like to leave your own reviews, you can do so on our website or on the Good Game app.
Yes, but on that note, it's time for another postcard from Goose.
In the cold, dark and scary world of fantasy games, you can always rely on a glowing beacon of light and warmth that offers rest for the weary, songs for the somber, and ale to almost everybody. Welcome, my friends, to the Tavern. Long used as safe havens for adventurers, inns and taverns provide an ideal self-contained introduction to new areas, new characters, and even quests and storylines. When faced with a whole new township to explore, heading straight for the saloon is often the quickest way to get information on where to travel or who to speak to next. On arrival into town, these welcoming watering holes are easily identifiable by their central location. And of course, their unique 2-part names, usually made up with an obscure adjective and a strange object. You've got the prancing pony, the drunken rat, the foaming flask, the flotsam inn, the hanged man, the lumpy pumpkin, the bannered mare, and some other creative titles.
There it is, the Inn of the Giggling Donkey.
But no matter which you decide to choose, taverns all still share that same pleasant, welcoming vibe that sets our rattled fears at ease. And they also allow us a moment to put our feet up, sort through our loot, purchase more gear, and even join in some of the merrymaking. With such an abundance of digital drink on tap, spirits in taverns are always sky high. Songs ring out from the many minstrels and unruly groups of locals who might even ask you to join in, buy you a drink, or maybe challenge you to a contest of skill, strength, or stamina.
Oh, bollocks.
These games serve as a pleasant distraction from the serious questing that we will have to return to when we're made to leave this fine establishment. Of course, should you or one of your new best friends consume more simulated suds than they can handle, pubs and taverns can quickly transform into more hostile hangouts, complete with busted up furnishings, broken bottles, and bruised egos.
My lord.
But eventually, all is usually forgiven as tempers die down and the music starts back up again. And before long, taverns are once again filled with the usual sounds of crackling fires, rowdy barflies, and the clinking of glassware. As we forget about the dangers lurking outside and instead focus on the warm, friendly atmosphere here inside. Hey! Taverns. Drop in, drink up, get thrown out.
Turn around. You're under arrest.
Murdered sole suspect is set in the town of Salem, Massachusetts, home of the infamous witch trials of 1692. But it's present day and Detective Ronan O'Connor is shot to death by the serial murderer known as the Bell Killer and rises as a ghost.
Hey! Get back! Get back here!
I quite like the character setup of Ronan, how the story of his life is told through his tattoos.
You steal my car, you paid a price.
He grew up on the wrong side of the tracks, fell into thug life and gangs, but meeting the love of his life put him on the straight and narrow.
Oh yeah, I do.
He developed a new identity and became a cop.
Now you think this new badge covers all that up?
It was clever, wasn't it? They managed to get an awful lot of information across in one cutscene.
No, stay with me.
But what that does is create enough backstory for you to instantly connect with the character, and it really sets up that kind of righteous but dangerous personality type.
Yeah, too bad he's dead. Ronan realizes he's unable to move on until he discovers who killed him. As in life, Ronan remains a detective in death, so he sets out on a path to solve his final case.
I need to find my killer's trail before it goes cold.
Who is the Bell Killer?
Yes, and obviously being a ghost, you have certain advantages and disadvantages.
You shouldn't have tried to be one of us.
You can't talk to people or touch anything, which makes solving crimes a little difficult.
Damn it.
But you can possess people and read their minds.
I still can't believe she died. It happened so fast.
And walk through walls.
Setting up a rule like this would be pretty difficult to get away with for the entire game if there were literally no structures that you couldn't pass through. So they get around it by saying that most of the houses in Salem are consecrated, meaning you can't pass through them.
Can't go there.
You have to wait till someone opens a door and then follow them in.
Yeah, at first I was a bit miffed by that, but as you said, having no solid walls would have been a bit tricky to build an entire game around, and the explanation works given Salem's esoteric history. The rest of the game mostly involves searching for clues, collectible items that give more information about events of the past or the case, and using your ghostly powers to try and get information out of people.
Should get this photo to Rex for that Amber Alert.
It's actually a great premise. I was intrigued enough to want to get stuck into this investigation. But unfortunately, the game is fairly limited in design. It doesn't look great and it just feels a bit sloppy in places.
Yeah, it's not quite there, is it? I get the impression that it needed a little bit more money behind it and maybe a little bit more time. A lot of the character animations are robotic and they only seem to have a few skins and feature options. At one point I thought I'd run into his dead wife, but it was just this chick with the same hair.
I thought they were just being unreasonable. I didn't know they would do this.
Throughout the game, you'll visit some fabulously cliched horror locations, such as a church, a cemetery, and everyone's favorite, an insane asylum.
We'll be okay. I'm not going to let anyone.
Damn.
And while you manage to use your possession powers and poltergeist abilities to get the information and clues that you need, things become much easier when you find a medium.
Holy shit. You're a medium.
A young girl who can see and communicate with the dead.
There was some nice writing and a wonderful relationship that develops between these two, which was lovely to watch.
I'm Joy.
Seriously?
And Ronin is better. Won't your parents think you'd be a medieval gladiator?
Sometimes you'll be required to use your poltergeist powers to distract police or wardens so that she can creep through. So there's a bit of teamwork there.
Come on, kid, hurry.
Being a ghost, you can't fight or fire a weapon. You do encounter enemies, though, and they're demons. They're pretty sparse, though, and they're annoyingly easy to take out. You can see them through walls, you can hide in plain sight in these kind of spirit shadows that are everywhere, and basically wait for your moment to bring them down with one move. It's just too simple.
Yeah, it was super average, wasn't it? They put these bird distractions around to help you out, but you really don't need any help when they predictably wander back and forth anyway. As you explore, you'll often encounter other ghosts who also haven't moved on. You can offer to help them by solving mini mysteries and providing them with the answer that they need.
Let me see what I can do.
I thought some of these were really interesting, but most of them were just dull or plain stupid.
Yeah, I agree. And generally the evidence was right at your feet anyway. You just had to pick the most relevant piece of information.
She needs to know how much she meant to them.
I also thought they were way too cavalier about the way they left memories and collectibles about the place. Some of them were hidden, but there were so many. It's like you were just following a breadcrumb trail of glowing items to find in every single area. Just speaks further of the game's limited design.
I also thought it would be cool possessing random people to hear what they were thinking. Because generally they've given a unique thought or two to most NPCs.
How much does a tattoo hurt? Cop was, like, covered.
And it would have been nice to get pieces of information that were small clues that tied into the larger case, but most of them were pretty generic.
You gotta have faith in the department.
It's a bit buggy too. I'd often possess someone and then not be able to get out of them, forcing a reset.
Yeah, there's also a teleporting mechanic which you pick up later on that just felt a bit broken. I struggled to get it to work properly almost every time I needed to use it. And often this meant I was stuck wandering around the same area because I wasn't sure if I was supposed to teleport out of there or if it just wasn't working properly.
Yeah, it's confusing, isn't it? Possessing a cat was fun though. I appreciate all cat-related mechanics.
Shoot, cat, get out of here.
There was a puzzle element involved in navigating your way through rooms as a cat, which you couldn't get through as a ghost. It was a bit of a clumsy device though, and conveniently there was always a cat waiting for you whenever you needed to go through a vent.
Yeah, look, this is one of those gaming experiences where I was just left really disappointed and sad because I could see what it could have been. There are a lot of great ideas here. The premise itself was good, and even if it was cliched, I liked it a lot. And when big budget games sometimes skimp on proper characterization, I felt like this game really delivered.
Holy shit, she can see.
It just didn't look great, and to be honest, it didn't feel well made.
Yeah, it felt really dated to me. And you don't get a sense of fluidity or realness to the town. It feels compartmentalized and boxy. We often say that now is the time for next-gen game design, but to be honest, this felt like early last-gen, which is such a shame because there are great ideas here, but it just doesn't have the game design to back it up. What are you going to give it overall, Hex?
Look, I could see all the areas they were trying to really get it right, but unfortunately there were just too many places they got it wrong, so I'm giving it 6.
Yeah, this was a tough slog. I'm giving it 5 out of 10.
So, did you name the game for this week? It was Jaws Unleashed from 2006. Very loosely based on the original film, you played as the infamous shark who has kind of become an eco-warrior, saving Amity Island from money-hungry property developers.
Amity has its own great white shark on display for the tourists.
With open-world mechanics and a constant need to eat humans to stay alive, the game never answers the most important question. Who unleashed Jaws in the first place? And it was our Name the Game for this week because the music was composed by Jason Graves, the same composer behind this week's Murdered Soul Suspect.
Well, we're almost out of time, but before we go, dinosaurs and man, two species separated by 65 million years of evolution, have just been suddenly thrown back into the mix together. I give you the Stomping Land.
The Stomping Land is a crowd-funded dino adventure currently in early access. You can play this offline, but really it's an online experience similar to Rust or DayZ, but with dinosaurs.
Ah, dinosaurs. I feel like it's one of the few remaining holy grails of video game experiences that no developer has really got right yet.
Yes, but I think this does have promise.
That's true, although it is hard to get a feel for it because it is so early in development. This is bare bones stuff, which is normal for these pre-release versions. There's only basic functionality. The most you'll probably do is make a few things, stalk a few dinosaurs, maybe hatchet another player, and stay alive long enough to go through the process of taming and eventually riding your very own dinosaur, which sadly we did not.
One day, Bajo. There are some nice ideas at play here, though, particularly with tracking. You can't kill the big dinos, but each star in the sky represents a dinosaur, and if you see two converge and fight, then you might have a shot of bagging a big one.
I love this idea of the dinosaurs being represented by stars in the sky. There's something cool and mystical about that. Although I never did see two fighting. The only ones I found together were glitched out and not even moving, so I just went through the process of hacking meat off them. They didn't seem to mind. But again, these kind of glitches are expected at this early stage of development.
What I think I liked most of all was how the weather and time of day affected hunting. Mist and fog, daytime hiding the stars, they're all solid mechanics. I really hope all that expands and this turns into some kind of PvP monster hunter game.
Yeah, me too. I only had a few human interactions, but it was pretty thrilling being hunted and hunting within this ancient forest. What I like most of all is that this feels different enough compared to all of the other games in this kind of online survivalist genre. I just hope it's polished enough and deep enough when it finally comes out.
We'll keep an eye on Stomping Land as it evolves towards release, but before all of that, actually, right now, it's E3 time for you, Bajo.
That's right, Hex. In fact, I'm in the thick of it as we speak, interviewing developers and playing the latest games, so I'm not really even here at all.
Yeah, but I can still see you, so...
Well, that's the magic of television, Hex. Just pretend I'm not here.
Okay, well, next week on the show, I'll be joined in studio by Dave Callan, and we'll be reviewing the new Tex Murphy game, Tesla Effect.
Nikola Tesla was a genius. Probably one of the greatest geniuses ever.
Plus, always, sometimes monsters gives us the opportunity to change our own fate.
Don't look at me, I'm not even here.
What's this?
Don't look at me.
Don't forget to keep your questions coming into the Ask Good Game desk. Until next time, may all your games be good ones. Hex out.
Bajo out.
Made you sound a bit like Batman. It's like he was never here.